Hey, I'm Vanessa Joy. I'm a wedding portrait, hotel marketing, branding, lifestyle photographer for about 20 years, and today we're talking all about f-stops, or apertures. Same thing. So to start this video off, I will tell you all about what an f-stop aperture is, but take a look at all these pictures real quick that we took at varying f-stops. It's pretty fun to look at the effects of varying f-stops. So let's talk about what an f-stop is. F-stop and aperture pretty much mean the same thing. The f-stop is the actual setting there, and the aperture is the thing that does the setting. So what is aperture? If you're new to photography, let me just tell you a little bit about it. If you're experienced, just hit fast forward 30 seconds. The aperture has to do with your lens, and the lens has an opening in it, either really small or it can get bigger, bigger, and bigger. Actually, if you go ahead and look at your camera, put a lens on it, and look through the lens and adjust the aperture, you can see it getting bigger and smaller. Kind of fun. And what the aperture is controlling is it's controlling how much light is being let into your camera. However, the aperture controls also your depth of field. As your aperture gets wider, the opening gets wider, more light gets put in. It's a lower aperture number, like a really wide aperture would be like 1.2 or even 2.8 versus like f16, which would be like, much smaller, or f22, not letting in a lot of light. The bigger the opening in your aperture is, the shallower depth of field you have, meaning if you want to get a blurry background, you want a nice wide open aperture, because that's going to create a very shallow depth of field. What's depth of field? I don't want to throw things at you that you might not know the names to. There's really no excuse for ugly content anymore, not with Storyblocks anyway. If you haven't heard about Storyblocks, they are a company that has stock everything. Now, when you're creating content for social media, for ads, for your website, you're able to search right on Storyblocks and find things like video footage, backgrounds, templates, photos, snapshots, vectors, and illustrations. And of course, music and sound effects to go with it. There are over 2.6 million assets. You are sure to find exactly what you need with the industry-leading licensing that Storyblocks has. And of course, you've got the capability for unlimited downloads, so you can explore that stock library and create better imagery faster than ever before. Take a look at the link that I have down here in the description. I'm sure you are going to love it, and make sure you click on that link. I get brownie points, and we get to keep continuing making videos like this one. So thank you so much, Storyblocks, for supporting me and my channel and this video. Now let's get back to that video. A shallower depth of field means that your plane of focus narrows, and your plane of focus is measured from the distance of your camera. So let's just say your plane of focus starts here and ends here. That's a pretty shallow depth of field, and only what's in focus between these two right here are going to be in focus, these 2 points. But if you have a greater depth of field, that plane gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Now all this in here is in focus, which is great if you're shooting something like family photos in groups, that we would want a greater depth of field and therefore a smaller aperture or a higher aperture setting number. But if you want to do that blurry background thing, or just get one eyeball or eyelash in focus, you want to do the exact opposite. You want to open up your aperture and go for a lower aperture setting like 1.2. Now, you may have heard the expression having a faster lens. Is that a fast lens? What does that mean? That means that lens can open the aperture wider and wider and wider. So having a lens that's a 1.2, f1.2 lens, that's a fast lens. That's what that expression means. Fast lenses are usually much more expensive. Now let's just talk real quick about some of the differences and things that you would potentially buy, a lens that you would buy. Maybe you're looking at a lens like the Canon 24-105, which we're actually shooting that right there. That goes down only to f4. I would not consider that a fast lens. It does a pretty good job, and if you want a little bit more blurriness in the background, zoom it all the way out to 105, and that's going to be really helpful in giving you a little bit more of a blurry background. That's kind of like a blurry background video. I have another video for that you can check out right there, or there, wherever we put it. But if you want a faster lens, a truly fast lens is actually what I'm filming right here. This is the Canon RF 85mm 1.2, and it is a beauty, and it is expensive. Fast lenses are absolutely more expensive. But on the flip side, if you're a landscape photographer, you probably want the other end of the spectrum, because my 85 here, I believe, only goes up to f16. So if I want to shoot a nice landscape and get a lot in focus, I'm gonna wanna go to f22, which this lens, being a fast lens, actually does not do. But a lens like the 24-105, I believe that does go to f22. Don't kill me, I haven't memorized every single lens in exactly their f-stop range. I know the low f-stop range. The high one, I don't touch as much. So that's all I have to tell you about f-stops. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, ring the bell. Oh, and check out the video all about how I set my manual exposure settings and why f-stop is the first decision I make. See you next time.